Penguins live at the edge of what most life can tolerate. They inhabit places where the wind can tear warmth from the body in seconds, where the ground offers no shelter, and where the ocean is both the only source of food and the greatest danger. These environments do not forgive mistakes, and yet penguins do not merely survive there. They have adapted to such extremes in ways that seem almost improbable. To understand penguins, it helps to forget the way they are often portrayed. They are not clumsy birds waddling aimlessly across ice. They are not simple creatures defined by cold landscapes and black and white feathers. Penguins are highly specialized animals, shaped by millions of years of evolution, living lives that are far more complex, demanding, and fragile than they appear at first glance. Penguins are birds, but they do not fly. Instead, they have become something else entirely, creatures of water, built not for the air, but for the ocean. Their wings have transformed into powerful flippers, their bones have become heavier than those of flying birds, and their bodies are shaped to move efficiently through dense water rather than thin air. In the sea, penguins are fast, precise, and agile. On land, they appear awkward only because land is no longer where they truly belong. There are 18 recognized species of penguins, and not all of them live in icy environments. Some inhabit temperate regions, rocky coastlines, and even warm climates near the equator. The Galapagos penguin, for example, lives closer to the equator than any other penguin species, surviving in conditions that seem almost contradictory to the image most people have of penguins. Yet even these species rely on cold ocean currents and precise environmental conditions to survive. What unites all penguins is their dependence on the ocean. The sea provides their food, shapes their behavior, and determines their survival. Penguins feed primarily on fish, squid, and krill, and many species must travel vast distances to find enough food to sustain themselves and their offspring. These journeys are not optional. They are necessary, repeated again and again across generations. For emperor penguins, the challenge is especially severe. They breed during the Antarctic winter, when temperatures can drop below -40 degrees Celsius and winds can exceed 200 kilometers per hour. No other bird attempts to reproduce under such conditions. Emperor penguins march dozens of kilometers inland to breeding sites, carrying nothing but the energy stored in their bodies. Once the female lays a single egg, she transfers it carefully to the male, balancing it on his feet and covering it with a folded skin known as a brood pouch. Then she leaves, returning to the ocean to feed. The male remains behind, fasting for months, protecting the egg from the cold, the wind, and the darkness. During this time he cannot eat. He survives entirely on fat reserves built up during the previous summer. While incubating the egg, male emperor penguins huddle together in tightly packed groups, rotating positions so that no individual remains exposed to the worst of the wind for too long. This behavior is not coordinated by a leader. It emerges naturally from the movement of individuals responding to cold and pressure. The result is a living structure constantly shifting, allowing thousands of birds to survive conditions that would kill most other animals within minutes. When the chick finally hatches, it enters a world that offers no mercy. The parent must provide warmth, protection, and eventually food, all while continuing to endure extreme cold. If the timing is off, if the female does not return from the ocean in time, or if food is scarce, The chick may not survive. There is little margin for error. Penguin chicks grow rapidly, but their vulnerability lasts for months. During this time, they face threats from the environment, predators, and starvation. In some species, chicks gather into groups known as creches, where they huddle together for warmth and protection while their parents hunt. These groups reduce individual risk, but also create competition. Not all chicks in a creche will survive. Despite these hardships, penguins persist. They return to the same breeding sites year after year, often traveling thousands of kilometers with remarkable precision. Many species exhibit strong site fidelity, meaning they return to the exact location where they were born to raise their own offspring. This behavior suggests a level of spatial memory and navigational ability that scientists are still working to fully understand. Penguins also form long-term pair bonds, especially in species that require intense cooperation to raise a chick. These bonds are not necessarily permanent, but they often last for multiple breeding seasons. Partners must coordinate their efforts carefully, timing their foraging trips and returns so that the chick is never left unprotected for too long. In environments where failure means death, cooperation becomes essential. Communication plays a critical role in penguin societies. In massive colonies containing tens or even hundreds of thousands of individuals, penguins must be able to identify their mates and chicks among countless others. They accomplish this through vocalizations, each bird producing a unique call that functions like an acoustic fingerprint. A parent can recognize its chick's call amid the noise of an entire colony, and the chick can recognize its parent in return. This ability highlights an often overlooked aspect of penguin life, their social complexity. Penguins are not solitary animals. They live in dense communities where interactions with neighbors are constant and unavoidable. These interactions involve cooperation, competition, aggression, and reconciliation. Penguins defend small territories around their nests, engage in disputes over space and resources, and negotiate social boundaries in ways that resemble those of many other highly social animals. At sea, penguins face a different set of challenges. The ocean is vast, unpredictable, and filled with predators. Leopard seals, orcas, and large sharks hunt penguins, particularly near the water's surface where penguins are most vulnerable. To reduce risk, penguins often enter the water in groups, hesitating at the edge before plunging in together. This hesitation is not indecision, it is a calculation. The first penguin to enter the water is the most likely to be attacked. Once underwater, penguins become something else entirely. They can reach impressive speeds, diving deep and maneuvering with extraordinary precision. Some species can dive hundreds of meters below the surface, holding their breath for many minutes at a time. Their bodies are adapted to withstand pressure changes, conserve oxygen, and maintain body temperature in freezing water. Penguin feathers play a crucial role in this adaptation. They are densely packed and overlap in a way that traps air close to the skin, providing insulation and buoyancy. Penguins carefully maintain their feathers through constant preening, distributing oils that repel water and preserve insulation. A penguin with damaged or dirty feathers is at serious risk, as waterlogged plumage can lead to rapid heat loss and death. Molting presents another period of vulnerability. Penguins replace all their feathers at once in a process that renders them temporarily unable to enter the water. During this time, they must remain on land, fasting until their new feathers are fully grown. This process can last several weeks and requires precise timing. If a penguin begins molting without sufficient fat reserves, it may not survive. Throughout their lives, penguins are finely tuned to environmental rhythms. Changes in sea ice, ocean temperature, and prey availability can have dramatic effects on their populations. In recent decades, climate change has begun to disrupt these rhythms in ways that penguins may not be able to adapt to quickly enough. Rising temperatures affect the formation and stability of sea ice, which many penguin species depend on for breeding and foraging. Changes in ocean currents alter the distribution of fish and krill, forcing penguins to travel farther to find food. Longer foraging trips mean longer periods away from chicks, increasing the risk of starvation and exposure. Some penguin populations have already experienced significant declines. Others have shown temporary increases as conditions shift in complex ways. But the overall trend is one of uncertainty. Penguins evolved to survive harsh but relatively stable environments. Rapid, human-driven changes present challenges that evolution did not prepare them for. Despite these threats, penguins continue to capture human attention and imagination. Perhaps it is because they live lives that seem both alien and familiar. They form families, care for their young, endure hardship, and persist in the face of overwhelming odds. They are resilient, but not invulnerable. Watching penguins, it is easy to project human qualities onto them: determination, loyalty, courage. While such projections can oversimplify their behavior, they also reflect something real. Penguins are animals whose survival depends on persistence, cooperation, and precise adaptation. They are not surviving by accident. Every aspect of their lives reflects a balance between risk and reward, energy and conservation, independence and cooperation. In a broader sense, penguins offer a reminder of how life adapts to the limits of the possible. They exist not because their environment is gentle, but because their bodies and behaviors have been shaped to meet extreme conditions. At the same time, they reveal how fragile such adaptations can be when the environment changes too quickly. Penguins do not control the ice, the ocean, or the climate. They respond to it. Their future depends on conditions far beyond their influence, shaped by forces that operate on a global scale. In this way, their story is not only about survival in cold places, it is about dependence, balance, and the consequences of disruption. As long as penguins continue to stand at the edges of continents, dive into dark waters, and return year after year to raise their young, they remain symbols of life's ability to persist under pressure. But they also remind us that persistence has limits. Their lives unfold quietly, far from most human activity, in landscapes that feel distant and empty. Yet those lives are deeply connected to the same systems that shape the rest of the planet. What happens in the oceans, in the atmosphere, and in the climate eventually reaches even the most remote colonies. Penguins do not ask for attention. They do not announce their struggles. They continue their routines as they always have, responding to conditions moment by moment. Whether those routines can continue unchanged is an open question. For now, they remain, moving between ice and ocean, land and water, survival and loss, living at the edge of the world, in a balance that has endured for millennia and that now faces its greatest test.